Alright, so I'm going to be tying one of these little guys. I'm going to try to tie it on camera so that I can, well, practice it. Need 3 or 4 strands of a flash of some sort. And I'm using red because I like the coloration. I don't know yet if the trout do. I'm also using red thread. Though, for the majority of my flies that I've tied in this pattern, I have used this color here, and it's a smaller thread. This is 70, and this is 210. So this is much larger. It's easier to do, and I can do it a little faster. And reaching around the camera is kind of difficult, actually. Alright, so I'm dubbing with a peacock dubbing, prism peacock dubbing. I imagine that peacock herl wrapped around would probably look a little nicer, but this works very well, very nicely. And I'm putting wax on my fingertip. I just do this, just lightly. And that is to give it a little bit of stiction so that whenever I dub my thread, which lets me see if I can swivel without messing up too much. Whenever I dub, I just pull a little bit off and feed it up the line. And it's not quite all the way, but that's okay because I can dub it later. Now that I've got a little dubbing on the line and a little bit of loose thread, I can take my 3 strands of flash and twist my hand, just twist it slightly. And you're not really trying to get it to twist together, it just kind of helps line it up. And give it a few loose wraps. Just to get it on there. You don't have to dub first, but I like to because it gets the seems to do a pretty good job. And I remember I've waxed my fingertips, so that's why they stick so nicely to the dubbing. I could rotate my vise if I wanted to, but for the most part, this is okay. My kids are watching the Berenstain Bears, which I definitely can't blame them. Alright, and so we've got a decent bed there with some dubbing pretty close to the hook. And let me zoom in a little. Okay, so you see where I've stopped here. Hold still, you. That's one of the hazards of using my phone. There we go. There we go. Alright, so we're zoomed in. You can see where I stopped here. Just a little ways behind the eye, and that's because we're going to tie in some other stuff. But the first thing that I'm going to do is, now I've wound this way across the top like this. Now I'm going to do this in the opposite direction. So let me get a few on here. And I just pull it off at about a little over a 45-degree angle. So we've got a nice barber pole action going there. There we go. And I'm not too worried about making it a little bit bulky, because I need to let that orange dubbing pile up. And the orange is called burnt orange, and it is Super Bright's all-purpose dubbing. So now that I've got that on there, we are going to tie in our CDC. And my CDC is just bulk stuff, nothing special, and it is a kind of a gray color. And I just pull it forward. Do not wax your fingers. Having a little stickiness on there is okay, but just a light loop. Make sure my vise is, and then I just kind of, while the loop is still light, kind of line it up, and then I pull it back. And so far, the best looking flies that I've gotten, the CDC sticks out about as much as the hook does. And I'm going to do a single whip finish over here. And then I'm going to trim. And the reason I do the whip finish ahead of time is because when I'm dubbing that in, if I break it, I don't want to lose that. I just need a little bit. I like these bulk packs of dubbing because, well, it looks nice and it's easy to keep track of. And I'm winding backwards till I make a nice little ball. Then I whip finish right in front of it. Whoops, not too far because I don't want to pull the CDC down. And this is a problem with using the thicker threads. As you can see now, I have a little pile of thread right there. Now it doesn't seem to affect the fishing of the fly, but it does let it pile up a little bit. And I have not put any head cement on these because they're easy enough to tie that I feel like I have enough. So I'm going to pause this and go get a glass of water, and I will show you what the fly looks like. Okay, so here we are. I've got my glass of water. I'm just going to aim you properly. And hopefully you'll be able to see the fly as she floats and as it goes. And so this is the same fly that we just did. And we're going to drop it in close to the edge here. And here is the benefit of the CDC on top. As you can see, the bottom of the fly wants to float under the water, where the top of the fly wants to stay up high. There we go. And so you have this nice buggy look. And a side effect of having a little tiny bit of wax on your hand, if you look closely at the dubbing, it's kind of got a haze over it. Those are bubbles trapped on it. But it's still got enough to it that it can, you can kind of abuse it a little bit. There we go. Kind of like got it go underwater there. And then when we take it out, the CDC allows us to flick it off. And have it still land right. There we go. And that is a shuttlecock fly.